A military man, a Moroccan general, said, a friend of this program, yes, it's going to happen. They're going to occupy Ceuta and Melilla, but also the Canary Islands. And they'll do it at the same time, not in 2 or 3 stages. No, no. When the operation is launched, they'll do it at the same time. Is it true? Is it not? Is it an exaggeration, a manipulation? Time will tell. The high-ranking military officials are on maximum alert.
We Spaniards are not sheep. This government has lost respect for the Spanish people, and it's time for us Spaniards to say, no one laughs at us and we deserve respect. And that's what we're going to do in this March for Dignity, because we are not meek, we are not sheep, we are Spaniards, and we have blood in our veins, and they are going to hear us.
What a coincidence that it's Turkey, which moreover is where Pedro Sanchez has recently received a lot of praise from Recep Erdogan. And what a coincidence that Turkey, where were the planes traveling to so often? From Venezuela, from Delcy, and from Maduro, where were they traveling to so often?
So Turkey.
When they had to make a stopover, where did they stop? Turkey. It's the Dominican Republic of the Mediterranean.
Pedro Sanchez is not the kind of person who would defend the territorial integrity of Spain. No. If what Trillo did with that rock, that big rock, was an exaggeration, in any case, it also served to show that at least that government wanted to show that it was protecting the integrity of Spain. But the guy who is letting Catalonia break apart, who is rolling out the red carpet for the Basque country to break away, who has given away the Sahara, what the heck does Sanchez care? Even if an Islamist party emerges, maybe the Frankenstein government will prop it up and keep going. You'll see. Give it time.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.
Welcome. How are you, confidentials? We have news updates about the alliances between Donald Trump, Argentina, and Morocco. And they affect us directly, no doubt about it. Thank you for being there, for believing in press freedom and in the media that show a different reality than what mainstream media usually tell. Look, both in the Falkland Islands in Argentina, as well as in Ceuta, Melilla, and the Canary Islands, the United States is playing a very dangerous game, and it's the strategy that suits them best, without taking into account the history of each place. Both the Falkland Islands and Ceuta and Melilla are key to controlling the maritime routes. In the Falkland Islands, they control the Strait of Magellan and the Drake Passage between the Atlantic and the Pacific. It is a first-class military logistics platform. The United Kingdom has not invested, it's true, the money it should in that area to properly protect the place. It's abandoned. And Starmer is talking with the United States. Negotiations are underway to reach a surrender in favor of Argentina. Trump has publicly backed Argentina's claim over the Falkland Islands. England says no, that in the war of 1982, 255 British military personnel died, and that their memory should come first. Well, Milley supports Trump as expected, and they're going to make it happen. And regarding Ceuta and Melilla, get ready, because Morocco is the best ally of the United States, at least in this region of the world. Ceuta, Melilla, and the Canary Islands are claimed, as you well know, by Morocco without any justification. They were never Moroccan lands, they were never colonies. However, they act as if they were, and be careful because they might succeed. Morocco has allocated more than 50 million euros to mobilize its citizens, who are the majority in Ceuta and Melilla, in the autonomous cities. Don't forget that Morocco spends 12 billion euros a year on espionage and defense, much more than what Spain spends. Therefore, they are better prepared in weaponry and intelligence than the Spanish state. Recovering Ceuta and Melilla for Morocco would be a success, greater than winning the World Cup. Hassan Dakou, the father of Mohammed VI, already tried it. It's unfinished business, and they never had it easier than with Pegasus infecting Pedro Sanchez's phone. It would not only make it easier for the United States to control the waters of the Strait of Gibraltar, but also pay attention for Morocco, control over the trafficking of small boats loaded with drugs, cannabis, hashish, the main business of the neighboring country. Meanwhile, in Spain, we take care of their children, the children of Moroccans who arrive without papers, without a passport. 15,000, they have already arrived under the umbrella of the Spanish state, protected by our public money. We legalize and naturalize their citizens. We give them aid, benefits, subsidies, so they can live here much better than they do there, with public health care, free schooling, and guaranteed food. And we also let them build more than 100 Moroccan mosques on Spanish soil, many of which end up being espionage centers for Morocco. Look at the threat to Ceuta and Melilla. We've been telling you for years that it's real. And in that negotiation to achieve it, which Mohammed VI, the government of Morocco, and the United States are carrying out, they have even identified where the new American bases would be located on Moroccan soil. Because, and this is exclusive information, the Morón base and the Rota base would leave Spanish territory when that happens. And they would be located in two strategic places. One controls the Atlantic, the other the Mediterranean. In the Atlantic, the city of Agadir. In the Mediterranean, the city of Saidia. Key to control the border with Algeria and the passage through the Mediterranean. There would be the Morón and Rota bases, which would leave Spain when the agreement is broken. Morocco has always been the main ally. Spain never was, and with Sanchez even less. And pay attention, because Agadir is already one of the main ports in Morocco with direct connections to the Canary Islands, which are right in front of it. A military man, a Moroccan general, said, a friend of this program, that yes, it's going to happen. They're going to occupy Ceuta and Melilla, but also the Canary Islands. And they'll do it at the same time, not in 2 or 3 stages. No. When the operation is set in motion, they'll do it at the same time. Is it true? Is it false? Is it an exaggeration, a manipulation? Time will tell. The high-ranking military officials are on maximum alert. The Spanish National Intelligence Center has, as you know, an exclusive department to monitor Morocco. We've talked about it here. They have already prepared several reports. The first one in 2021, warning about what is going to happen. When that report became known, the Prime Minister's office, Sanchez was already in office, urgently set in motion the development of a comprehensive security plan for Ceuta and Melilla. It was May 2021. Well, it was exactly that month and year when Sanchez flew over the Moroccan border and his phone was infected with Pegasus. And supposedly he was blackmailed. From that point on, that security plan for Ceuta and Melilla disappears and has never been implemented. Look, at this hour, we're hearing reports that Spanish military personnel are warning about what's going to happen. Morocco wants to occupy Ceuta, Melilla, and the Canary Islands. And they want to do it soon because they know they have the support of the United States. Some people say that after the World Cup, if that's the case, maybe Sanchez won't be in power anymore and it wouldn't be so easy. It could happen at any moment. Today marks 4 years since we started this news podcast, and one of the first messages we sent you was that this plan was still pending. Written, scheduled, approved by Mohammed VI and by the United States, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization looking the other way. Morocco waiting for the chance to assume its geostrategic position, and the European Union, as always, is neither present nor expected. Get ready, because it has never been so close for that Spanish territory, which was never Moroccan, to be occupied, and nothing happens. We'll tell you about it. Welcome. We investigate. Friends, yesterday we had the chance to announce the headline. Today we're going to provide more details. May 23rd, 10:30 in the morning. It's Saturday at Plaza Colón. March, I say, all the way to Moncloa. Allow me to put it that way because that's how I feel. I know, I think the march ends at the Triumphal Arch, right next to Moncloa, very close to Moncloa. The ones who called for this are hundreds of associations from Spanish civil society. Marcos de Quinto, welcome. How are you?
Glad to be here. Well, I'm very happy that we were finally able to give the green light to something that Spanish society was asking for. And well, just looking forward to Saturday, May 23rd.
March for dignity, and they're asking for dignity. And for Pedro Sanchez to step down directly.
Yes, we're asking for his resignation. There were people asking for him to be imprisoned, but I think that
will come. It will come.
It will come. Yes, look, well, Sociedad Civil Española is a coalition of associations that brings together more than 150 associations. And what happens is that Spaniards, I think there was like a demand. I mean, we have to go out into the streets. We have to do something. And the complicated thing is always who calls for it, who invites people to go out into the streets. Because if this comes from a specific political party, well, people who might not like that party or who support another one, in the end, they don't get involved. That's why it's essential for a somewhat neutral entity like Sociedad Civil Española, which, as I said, is made up of various associations, to take the lead, to issue the call so that everyone can join in, including all those political parties, but in a neutral way. That's what we've done, and we've been holding demonstrations for quite some time now. You know about some of them where you've participated. I think one was at Plaza de Castilla. We've also held massive demonstrations at Cibeles, and the last one we did was at Plaza de Colón. Also, it was a day when it was raining, and there were a lot of people given the circumstances. So in this case, we're going to completely change the way we've done things before. The first change is that instead of being a gathering, it's going to be a march. A march that starts at 10:30 from Plaza de Colón, and we estimate it will arrive around 12:30 at the Arco de Triunfo, as you said. The next point is that in the other gatherings, we've had, I think, too many speeches and remarks. And in this case, there won't be any speeches or interventions. It will be a march where people can chant whatever chants and slogans they want. And only when we reach the Arco de Triunfo will there be a brief address, simply to give thanks and list all the associations and political parties that have joined this event, and to listen to the national anthem. With that, we will consider it concluded. And another thing that will also set this apart from all the events and gatherings we have held before. Historically, Sociedad Civil Española at its gatherings would ask that no one bring symbols, flags, or partisan banners or anything like that. In this case, we are giving people the freedom to do so. Let everyone come for their own reasons, bring their own banners, and carry whatever symbols they think are appropriate. We give people freedom because the only thing we are limiting ourselves to is organizing the event. Let it be a platform so that everyone who wants to show their discontent with the government for whatever reason can do so in complete freedom. We provide the vehicle, which is this March for Dignity, and everyone fits there: doctors, self-employed workers, farmers, political parties, professional associations of all kinds. They are all invited to participate. The march is not ours. What we did was organize it to provide that platform for civil society.
Couldn't it end in front of Moncloa Palace, which is so close to the Triumphal Arch?
Let's see, Albert. Organizing something like this is not easy at all. Not easy at all. We had to handle it with absolute discretion, because if we announced it too early, it would be very easy for someone to throw a wrench in the works. For example, someone might suddenly say, oh, you can't do it because there's going to be a craft fair on that street. Or there are some bicycles and so on. So all of this has to be handled, because most importantly, the government delegation has to be informed to inform them. And on the other hand, it shouldn't coincide with anything else, because at the last moment, City Hall, the regional government, or whoever could interfere if they have priority. I think it has been handled well. And what we do is that the march ends there. And well, everyone will go wherever they want. They'll go to the subway entrance, they'll go to Parque del Oeste, or they'll go to a terrace, but that's fine.
Or they'll go to the Moncloa Palace and everyone will be free.
As for me, that has nothing to do with the organization anymore.
I understand very well. The route, if you leave from Colón and arrive there, you go down Genova Street, right?
Yes, we're going to do it. The route will be Colón, Genova, Sagasta, Carranza, Alberto Aguilera, and Princesa, and from there you arrive. We hope that the Popular Party will join us, and they also have an advantage, because if they start or join from number 13 on Genova, they don't have to make the climb up Genova, so the march is easier for them. They would practically be going on flat ground. Then let's hope that
if they made the effort to file a motion of no confidence, that would be enough for us.
Yes, well,
right there.
I think this is the time to bring people together and get everyone to join in. Because I think it would be very ironic if people who are always talking about how important it is to unite to get rid of Sanchez, then it turns out that when there's an initiative from civil society, they don't support it and don't join in.
I hope that doesn't happen and the People's Party is present.
I hope that doesn't happen, because based on our experience with the People's Party, sometimes they only support things that they themselves organize. And again, I repeat, if it had been organized by Vox, or if it had been organized by the People's Party, it wouldn't have that platform for everyone. This is being done by civil society, and what is important is that all the parties in the opposition join in.
How terrible, with everything the country is going through, and here we are with petty fights, me first. Well, that's why Sociedad Civil Española exists. We need to get transport workers to come, and if tractor drivers want to bring their tractors, they have reasons to do so with the Mercosur situation. Doctors who are very angry and out on the streets every day. This is a call for all social sectors to come together.
Security forces and law enforcement as well.
Of course.
Yes, I mean, people from the judiciary, they went out wearing their robes to protest. Do you remember when they went out to Plaza de Castilla not long ago? I think there are plenty of reasons, not just because of the corruption we're seeing. We're also witnessing institutional deterioration. I mean, usually people say that power corrupts and that politicians gain power and end up becoming corrupt. But these ones were already corrupt when they arrived. These are gangsters who have taken over the state. They've taken over political power. And well, so separation of powers is nearly non-existent because the legislative branch is ignored and doesn't truly exist. The laws are debated in Switzerland or in Waterloo. On the other hand, the judiciary is absolutely nullified because in the end, the Constitutional Court acts as a court of cassation and overrules the Supreme Court itself. I don't know. Foreign policy is completely arbitrary. It's decided according to how Sanchez feels when he wakes up, because foreign policy should be a state policy, a policy agreed upon even with the opposition. But if Sanchez wakes up and gets angry with Milei, then we break off relations with Argentina. And if suddenly his phone gets hacked, then we give away the Sahara. Then it's also a disgrace. Right now, he has given up on Gibraltar. He has allowed the European Union to negotiate with Great Britain, even though it's Spanish territory. But how is the European Union going to negotiate with a country that's outside the European Union, which is Great Britain, over a territory that belongs to Spain? I mean, it's an absolute disaster. And suddenly we get angry with Israel and the United States giving up, of course, all the information and technology from these countries to cozy up with the Puebla group and to annoy the United States by going to China. Besides, if he were going to China to sell, Sanchez is actually going to buy. That is, we have a 42 billion deficit, and every time he goes to China, instead of selling Spanish products, he comes back with Chinese products to sell to us with the cars and the agreements he has with those companies. So, well, and finally, there's this, the population replacement that's happening, where it's not just about regularization anymore, but also about granting nationality, this grandchildren's law, which is a very curious law, because I don't know if the people who are going to be granted nationality in Latin America are aware that nationality gives you certain rights, but also certain obligations. And those who are grandchildren of exiles, who possibly most of them have built good careers in those countries with the left and all that, and they have their businesses, and some even have small fortunes. I'm not sure if they are aware that from the moment they become Spanish citizens, they will have to file a non-resident tax return because they don't live in Spain. But if you are Spanish and live abroad, you have to file a non-resident tax return in Spain, even if you don't pay, but you do have to pay the wealth tax. That you do have to pay. And then
When they realize,
but surely the tax agency won't investigate these people. But the moment the regime changes, when the government changes, I demand that please they undergo a full tax inspection from top to bottom, and that they have to pay with a fine or penalty everything they haven't paid before. But well, I mean, all these things are really being done, which is something outrageous. And well, above all, the economic part, because we are living in a completely artificial economic situation where the gross domestic product, first on a per capita level, hasn't grown since 2017. And in absolute terms, yes, but due to increased public spending, due to increased debt that will have to be paid at some point with an exorbitant unemployment rate. Anyway, all those kinds of things are enough reasons to go out there and well,
and since it was announced, a few hours have passed. Any message from Moncloa?
no, we're not expecting any message from Moncloa. And besides, of course, it would be a scandal if they tried to stop it, because this march is going to happen no matter what. No matter what. That is, we have met all the legal requirements, we have provided the information, and there is no obstacle. So this march will happen no matter what. Sometimes they resort to that for certain demonstrations. Well, the trick is that the anti-fascists and all these well-paid people from the far left say they're going to do something. And to avoid conflicts, well, that's what happens. No, the anti-fascists, I mean, I don't think they're going to come within a kilometer of the area, not even within a kilometer. I mean, we Spaniards are not sheep. This government has lost respect for the Spanish people, and it's time for us Spaniards to say, no one laughs at us, and we deserve respect. And that's what we're going to do in this March for Dignity, because we're not meek, we're not sheep, we're Spaniards, and we have blood in our veins, and they're going to hear us.
We've been wanting something like this for so long, to organize something like this, a march where each person has the freedom to shout and listen to what's inside them. We all come across people in the media who ask us to take action, to do something, to move. Well, now is the opportunity. I know buses are already being organized from all over Spain. It's something usual. There is a lot of need. Every time we organize something, people also tell me, Marcos, that we should hold events that people can attend in the place where they live.
Exactly. I was seeing on social media, Yes, I was seeing on social media that there are people who right now are preparing their own small marches locally in other places, and I think that's great. What is important is that this March for Dignity is going to expose a lot of people, because here everyone talks about how it's essential to get rid of Sanchez and that altogether we have to get rid of Sanchez and so on. Well, now we're going to see who supports this march, and not just associations or political parties, but also the media, and which media outlets stay silent about this march, because all of them will be exposed. I hope that without exception, well, maybe El País or some media like that, or the public TV stations, some of the public TV stations controlled by the government, that all the media will publicize this event by Spanish civil society. And those who don't cover it, well, honestly, I'll be quite disappointed, because they'll be exposed in society as people who make a big deal about getting rid of Sanchez, but then act only on a partisan level. Well, if we didn't come up with it, or if we didn't organize it ourselves, then let's see if we can make this quiet down a bit.
Human pettiness. Someday I hope to talk with you and remember these dark years of Sanchez and the struggle we had in different trenches. There are people here who think very differently, but we have a common goal and we have to prove it with actions. The March for Dignity. We will keep talking and encouraging as many people as possible to join. Take care, Marcos.
Take care. See you later. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon. Castillon Confidential by Albert Castillon.
By the way, I want to let you know that we have received this document from the European Parliament addressed to this program from the Committee on Petitions, making official what we already told you here a little over a week ago. The European Parliament unfortunately must inform you that we cannot proceed with your petition. They were the more than 51,000 signatures calling for a citizen-backed no-confidence motion against Pedro Sanchez. Of course, the document doesn't say why the Partido Popular voted against it, but the result is the same. Mr. Carlos Marcos, welcome, who was with me in Brussels delivering this documentation. How are you, my friend?
It certifies that citizens have no say in Europe, that Europe is a racket for politicians where billions contributed by citizens are shuffled around. But when citizens want to engage with Europe and bring a positive proposal, which is what we did at the time, well, Europe just ignores it. We have no say. It's not the Europe of the citizens. It's the Europe of political interests, of lobbies, and of big business where citizens have neither a voice nor a vote. And that's it. And what they send you is not a document. It's a death notice for a proposal backed by thousands and thousands of Spanish citizens, which I thought they would at least put up for debate, even if it didn't succeed in the end, but at least debate it. Because we're neither little children nor idiots. We're making a proposal that we believe will improve the democratic quality of our country. And that's why not just us, but nearly 52,000 Spaniards believe that this proposal at least deserved to be debated. Well, indeed, the vote against by the Popular Party killed the possibility for this to move forward. And those 52,000 signatures have been left out. Well, we'll have to send them to the royal household so that the king knows there are Spaniards making constructive proposals, trying to improve the quality of our democracy. And that the politicians, the establishment of the European racket, have gagged us so we can't speak up.
Well, with your permission and the permission of all the media outlets, so that all this effort doesn't go to waste, we sent the almost 52,000 signatures to the royal household, to King Felipe VI, along with the supporting document. To the letter we wrote, just like the ones we sent, asking him to personally reflect on other matters. It's funny because if we were a lobby, Carlos, we would have started handing out money, organizing dinners, lunches, right? Just like Morocco, China, and so many countries do. And if they had accepted it, they might have even made an official day for our motion of no confidence. No doubt about it. What are people like in Europe? The ones who earn the most among all the politicians in the European Union, those are the ones who let themselves be influenced by money lobbies, by the power of money. What a shame. My dear Roberto Crobu, how are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you, Albert? How are you, Carlos? Nice to meet you. I was listening. I think the mafia has already spread all over the world. The Italians say we invented it, but that's not true. It was the Spaniards during the Bourbon era in the south of Italy who founded the mafia. That's not true. Actually, the founders of the mafia are the Spaniards who went to Italy. There, the environment and the territory made it so that the mafia took root, but nowadays we even have it in Brussels. If you don't have a godfather in Brussels, Albert, Carlos, how are you going to make proposals? If it doesn't go through a European parliamentarian, if it doesn't go through a lobby, unless you pay up, who knows? Every proposal falls on deaf ears.
Yes, sir. Well, but look, sometimes we hit a wall here, right? And things don't move forward. For example, this motion, but there are other issues that do move forward. Yesterday, we celebrated our 4th anniversary. And for 4 years, we've been insisting that we suspect elections in Spain are not clean. And there is alleged electoral fraud of different kinds. From not opening the envelopes with the records and checking if it's the same as what Indra has given us, to vote buying that has been proven in different cities and towns in Spain. There are many ways to grant legal status to millions or grant citizenship to millions who don't know our country. Well, in 4 years, just banging our heads against the wall with Gabriel Araujo and 4 more. And today it's a topic of public conversation, at least for 2 politicians. Isabel Diaz Ayuso, listen.
How could you not be suspicious of Pedro Sanchez's rush to grant legal status on a massive scale and grant citizenship on a massive scale? This means increasing the electoral rolls for next year. For regularizations, many can vote in municipal elections, but with naturalizations and the focus on national priority, over 3 million people, including citizens from dictatorships like Cuba, will be able to vote in Spain's elections. What guarantees will there be? And above all, with what rigor is the Spanish citizenship being issued?
And even more forceful, and it was about time, Santiago Abascal.
But I want to say very firmly that Sanchez is going to try to steal the next elections in 2027. And he is going to use, just as he is using against us today, and from here we send him a huge middle finger, because here we are despite his obstacles. He is going to use all the structures of the state that he has taken over. He is going to use all the power of the state that he has illegitimately occupied.
Let's see, Carlos Marcos, for the first time, the leader of the third party in this country, says that Sanchez is going to try to commit electoral fraud. It took a lot for Vox to also understand that civil society couldn't be left to go it alone while trying to figure this out. And it's been the only party that has taken action. There's been a change with Ayuso, Abascal, and others. Are they finally opening their eyes?
I don't know, Albert, but this is something you've been denouncing for many months now, right? And I hope that Abascal and Feijó finally understand that in order to fight against the machinery controlled by Pedro Sanchez, which he has colonized, and which is very important and very powerful, we only have one alternative left, which is the formation of a democratic coalition in which the Popular Party and Vox participate. And they provide 100% coverage of the polling stations with their own poll watchers, so that we can collect all the records from 100% of the polling stations to verify the accuracy of the result. Those records are signed by the polling station presidents, the poll watchers, and the party agents. And if we have 100% total coverage of the polling stations, the possibility of cheating becomes much, much more difficult, because they are official documents that could be submitted to the Electoral Board to prove that the results have been altered. That would give us a lot of strength, but for that, the Partido Popular and Vox need to understand and share the main goal, which is to ensure clean democratic elections that remove Sanchez from Moncloa. And afterwards, they can highlight all the differences they want, but for God's sake, right now, let them guarantee us clean elections. And Sanchez can't do that because he has no credibility. and only the unity of two parties, which together can cover 100% of the polling stations, guarantees that citizens can know the real result of the elections.
Look, I'm telling you that Ayuso's popular party in Madrid is already recruiting volunteers to be at all the polling stations. It's very sad, but we have to do what Maria Corina Machado did. Do you understand me? Or not, Robert? We have to do that.
That's right. That's right. Look, I partly understand what has happened to Isabel Diaz Ayuso. Okay, there's still time, but if she doesn't wake up, she'll lose the elections. Because if those 2.5 million applications for naturalization from the metropolitan area of Buenos Aires, we already know that 98%. Up to this moment, almost 500,000, 98% of the applications have been accepted. There are, as I understand, around 2 million still left to be decided. That is to say, if those 2 million end up in Madrid for the regional election, Isabel Diaz Ayuso has lost the elections. It's extremely serious. And I think what happened to these people is a bit like what happens to me with my sister. My sister, I always say this, usually hires me around March and asks me, hey, are you coming this summer? And in March, I'm worried. I'm just trying to survive. Before Holy Week, then the Spring Festival in Murcia, and summer feels so far away. And I have so many urgent things to deal with that I don't answer him. And then when June comes, plane tickets are expensive. Sometimes there aren't any seats. I think this happens to politicians. They are in battles, their minds are focused on day-to-day matters, on many more bureaucratic and power-related matters. And they don't realize it. They don't have that long-term vision that we, from the outside, analyzing the trends a bit, are able to pick up on. And now it's a good thing that Isabel Diaz Ayuso is starting to see it. The warning signs and take, how do you say it? Take caution, because indeed what I've heard is that they want one person at each polling station. They want to photograph all the tally sheets. The tally sheets must be published, as was clearly explained to me at the time. Luis Maria Pardo.
But it isn't done.
They have to be posted at the polling stations on the doors. And we have evidence that this is not a common practice in Spain. Therefore, forcing those records to be published, to have them photographed, to be checked, and then to make sure there is a match between that photo. And the count that is done at the central table is fundamental. They can't overlook that.
The poster for the May 23rd event, ours, the one our program created, you're seeing it. It's available for anyone who wants to download it on our website, castillonconfidential.com. I say this because any social group that wants to join, we would love for them to do so. Tractor drivers, contractors, self-employed people who are protesting every other day, doctors fed up with the minister, journalists fed up with Channel 1, with La Sexta. There are 1,000 sectors, judges. Why don't they go in their robes and join the protest? We would be happy. The more, the better. Let's see, Carlos Marcos, if you come along. I'm going to be there.
Me too.
Broadcasting live and marching from Colón to Moncloa, and I hope you'll be by my side.
Of course, I'll be there. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Same to you, Robert. You're invited.
Thank you very much. And I'm looking at the calendar, and I might be able to be there too. I think it will be relatively easy for us to meet this time, hopefully.
I would like the team of our regular contributors. I'm not going to make Zoe Valdez come from Paris, right? Nor Zabate from Argentina. But those of us who are in Spain, well, we can take a bus, a train, a plane, and if each person's family and life allow it, we'll meet there. I'll give you a meeting point beforehand so that all the confidenciales can walk together in this march. And you've just heard Marcos de Quinto a moment ago. The end of the march is the Moncloa Victory Arch. But from there, anyone who wants to continue to the Moncloa Palace is free to do so. I want to keep going, but I don't want to go alone. Not out of any intention to harass or shame. No, no, we're much more peaceful people than they are. Simply so that if they're inside, they can hear the voice, the roar of the people in the street. So the message reaches them, so they understand that this is over. And also the slogan, Marcos for dignity. I think it's magnificent because it says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, I really don't want to use those grandiose terms anymore. No, for dignity, for honor. No, no. Out of necessity, because of a national emergency. Because people understand this completely improvised situation less and less, in which there are no majorities in parliament, no agreement among the very parties that put Sanchez in office, and not even an opposition. And it pains me to say it, that they are not even able to agree on the bare minimum. But the bare minimum required right now, because of the national emergency, is to get Sanchez out of Moncloa. And for that, we need to come together. People who think differently, but who are committed to our democracy. Because I don't want to think about what might be on my mind the day after the next general elections, where the Frankenstein government of terrorists, separatists, coup plotters, and Sanchistas comes in. With the manipulated overseas vote, they govern us for another 4 years. I would really have to think hard about whether to stay here because I've been suffering for a long time. But I don't know if I could stand another 4 years of Pedro Sanchez, of Euskadi Bildu, of the Catalan coup plotters governing Spain. I truly love my country, I adore my homeland. But under Sanchez's rule, I've endured 8 years, and another 4 would be unbearable for me. I will do everything in my power and everything I can so that this doesn't happen, so that Spain can recover a healthy democracy, which is what we need right now.
There's a mystery. I've received information from several sources confirming that things aren't as we're being told. The Airbus A310, with which Sanchez wanted to travel to Armenia. They know there's a meeting there of high-ranking officials. Suddenly, we get the information that to that summit, the Airbus can't go directly because it has a malfunction and is forced to spend the night in Ankara, Turkey. We have received information that there was no malfunction, that it was a technical stop, which is not exactly the same as a malfunction. I want you to listen to Santos, one of the informants.
The issue of the president's plane landing in Istanbul doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. That wasn't an emergency landing. It's just that the Falcon pilots, ever since it became known that they were collaborators, have had their salaries tripled and were told to say there had been a technical malfunction. He landed in Istanbul due to a technical malfunction, a technical landing, not an emergency one, which is a lie. But of course, Sanchez is being watched and he has to get the gold and the money out in the time he has left, which are the evidence they're looking for about the kickbacks. So he had to get it out somehow.
Well, allegedly, please. But look, it's not the only person who told me about it. Who was on the plane? Diplomatic advisors and his security team. There weren't, as sometimes happens, any businessmen or ministers, none. Why does he need an Airbus with capacity for more than 240 people if there were barely a dozen passengers? There are a lot of questions, aren't there? That Airbus can carry 21 tons. Is it true that the mechanics and pilots are loyal to Sanchez? To the point that no one has been able to explain the 17 or 20 or 30 trips to the Dominican Republic. And they haven't said a word, even though they're members of the army. I'll just remind you of one detail. Just a few months ago, the Spanish government closed a deal to buy $3.120 billion worth of planes from Turkey. We know what we know about this government of Abalos, Koldo, Aldama, and Sanchez. Do you really think that purchase was clean? Do you really think there wasn't someone who took a commission, just like what happened with the sale of frigates that Jose Bono made to Hugo Chavez and has happened many times before? Well, if anyone has more information about those strange technical stops they've been making lately, let us know. Or about why Alvarez also took an Airbus to go to the Dominican Republic for an unimportant meeting with the Dominican foreign minister. What's going on? Is it Airbus season? What are they carrying? What are they bringing? Robert, I know they're suspicious, but they're still just suspicions. But based on what we know about this government, nothing surprises me anymore.
I'll give you one more piece of information, Albert. What a coincidence that it's Turkey, and lately Pedro Sanchez has gotten a lot of praise from Recep Erdogan. And what a coincidence that Turkey, where did the planes travel to so often? From Venezuela, from Delcy, and from Maduro, where did they travel to so often?
To Turkey.
And when they had to make a stopover, where did they stop? And where is it said that there might be money from the Venezuelan regime that was stolen by Delcy, Diosdado, and well, the entire top leadership of Chavismo? And what a coincidence that Pedro Sanchez planned to invite Delcy Rodriguez to Spain in a few months.
In November, he's going to invite her in November if nothing stops it. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I'm not saying anything, but I'm telling you everything.
No.
But I'm afraid that Turkey is the Dominican Republic of the Mediterranean, so to speak, for this kind of game.
It's very possible. Carlos, do you think they're capable?
Man, let's see. The problem with Pedro Sanchez is his absolute lack of credibility. Everything he does is under suspicion, because in addition, nothing he does is easily explained. That's why they don't explain it. That's why we don't know anything. I imagine that both the Partido Popular and Vox, or both or one of them, will ask in Parliament about the technical malfunction. Because maybe they'll declare the trip an official secret and we can't go there. But about the technical malfunction of a state plane, they can ask, and there should be an obligation to answer. But nothing that Pedro Sanchez does is free from doubt or suspicion. Why? Because it's impossible to explain Pedro Sanchez's relationship with the dictators of Ibero-America, who are all involved in extremely serious cases of corruption. The thing is, Pedro Sanchez is bending over backward in Europe, and the phrase couldn't be more apt to try to get Delcy's punishment lifted so she can come in November to that communist summit Pedro Sanchez wants to organize in Madrid. Why so much interest? Are we all clueless? We just refuse to see what's happening. Why such a staunch defense of Delcy? Why does the last protector that Maduro has left in Venezuela want to uphold the system? And why are people like the government of Spain interested in staying close to Delcy in case she ends up holding on? And isn't our friend Trump going to get her out of there like he should have already done? Well, because they're looking for the cover that will protect them all. And when we're among thieves, it's time to look each other in the eye and help each other. Because if one domino falls, it's the domino effect and they could all fall. That's Pedro Sanchez's defense of Delcy Rodriguez.
Gentlemen, they're sending me ballots from the Andalusia party in Cadiz. There you can see one. Most of the members on the electoral list are Arabs. You know, it's a party supposedly funded by the government of Morocco, and that it's going to get more votes than some people think. They also sent me the video of the Esplugs killer. I'm shocked. Can someone explain it to me? Please, I mean, a man is walking down the street shouting, Allah Akbar. He tries to stab one person after another. In the end, he ends up killing a 16-year-old girl at 11 in the morning. He basically ends up slitting her throat. Well, I won't go into details, but it's brutally cruel. He is, from what I've been told, of Moroccan origin. Well, according to what this program has learned, he has been sent to Canbrian's prison, but in the prison's psychiatric hospital unit. Who said he's crazy? No one. Who doesn't want it to be a jihadist attack? The Socialist Party in power in Catalonia and in the city of Esplugs. Because, of course, in the middle of a regularization, how are you going to say that a Moroccan jihadist, possibly a lone wolf, ends up slitting the throat of a 16-year-old girl in broad daylight? No, it's not good publicity for mass regularization. According to what this program has learned, he has no psychiatric history that would justify admitting him to the Cambrian's prison psychiatric unit. In other words, they want to pass off someone as crazy without even having investigated or evaluated him. They did the same with the one from Algeciras, Roberto, remember?
Yes, yes. Correct, correct.
Who also committed murder.
Yes, well, there have been a lot of cases lately, right? Also, this boy who was killed by, they said in Mosellón, right? In Madrid in August, right in the middle of August. The excuse, it's hard to believe that a psychologist has to say it. It seems like the mental health has become a catch-all. It's become a free-for-all, right? Like, well, when we don't know what it is, let's just call it mental health. But this shows one thing, that there is no screening at all of the people who enter the country. They say, no, he's not a jihadist. Okay, if he's not a jihadist, then what is this person doing in Spain? Is this the person who's going to pay all our pensions like they tried to sell us? A person with mental health issues and potentially a murderer, or even someone who has already committed murder. So from my point of view, this is proof that immigration isn't working, there's no control, and it's serving other interests. And then there's another issue, digging a little deeper and speculating that this happened, let's say, in the same week that there was also a similar attack in London.
Yes.
All right. I wonder to what extent all of this might be coordinated to destabilize Europe, to even provoke some reactions that can later be labeled as xenophobic. And oh, what a coincidence that today they were all going to a forum about controlling information in the name of fighting hate, right? It seems that where Pedro Sanchez was going today, right, it was a forum invented by Macron about freedom of expression, but with limits, right? So I'm afraid we're dealing with a maneuver here to little by little gradually plant the idea, saturating society with the notion that there is a lot of unfair hate speech and that every situation like this only makes hate speech grow bigger and bigger. To legitimize some kind of political measure, legislation, to control us, control posts on social media and so on.
The same old censorship. I mean, if he's crazy, which they haven't proven or analyzed, how did they let him in? How did they not know he was here? But the thing is, I argue that he's not. According to my information, he's perfectly sane, and they're making him out to be something he's not in order to avoid saying it's a terrorist jihadist attack. Can politics twist reality that much? What about the Mossos, the judicial police, those who are out there on the street and know what happened, Carlos?
Of course, because let's see, I think there's a police report that indicates this killer might show signs of mental disturbance. Who are the police to label that? Who signed that report? What psychiatric evaluation has this man undergone? The manipulation Roberto is talking about isn't new. Notice that every jihadist terrorist act is treated as if it were an individual act, as if there were no connection with the previous one or the next one. And that's a fantastic manipulation, because if we line up all the jihadist attacks one after another, here in Paris, in London, everywhere, we see that there is a perfectly organized operation, which is what worries many Spaniards, that they want to impose that way of acting here because they're doing it right now with knives and shouting Allah and a bunch of other things. But these are not individual acts. They are not lone wolves. They follow a certain logic and they are sticking to it. And the Spanish government is making every effort to label them as crazy, to say, no, this is a lone wolf. No, sir. No, sir. Where are the Spanish intelligence services? Where is the report that links the attacks? Since they all follow the same pattern, they're identical, it can't be. But as long as they go along with mass regularization and let anyone come in, and if they vote for Pedro Sanchez, even better. With that ultimate goal, they're destroying our principles, they're destroying our ability to live together, they're destroying our security, they're destroying all of us while we remain passively silent. That's why I encourage not just journalists, but judges, engineers, ordinary citizens, those who live in Vallecas, in the Salamanca neighborhood, and also in Mostoles. On the 23rd, let's all go together, hand in hand. At the very least, let them know that there are millions of Spaniards who do not accept lies as a way of behaving. And at this moment, lying is the Spanish government's official line. Let's stand up against lies.
And with the collaboration of a lot of colleagues from my profession who write what they're told, which is truly a shame, about the express regularization. Candelaria, Guadalupe, Manu, Virginia, and Pepe.
Spain is the laboratory, and so is Germany. Germany is already like it's been invaded by Muslims. There aren't that many from other countries. There are more Muslims here now. And yes, maybe that's also what's happening in Catalonia.
I have a great recorded call where I called to sign up for the vulnerability certificate because I am vulnerable. And the lady who answers the phone asks me, "Are you Spanish?" I say, "Yes, absolutely." And she tells me, "Well, if you want to apply for the vulnerability certificate, what you have to do is submit it through the registry or go to the city hall or the municipal board." So it's clear that this is only for foreign people and to alter the census.
Let's imagine a housing development with 19 houses, all surrounded by fences and well protected with alarms, okay? The alarm goes off and it turns out there are two guys who have broken in, they've jumped the fence and they're in the garden. And the owner of the house comes out scared, sees them and says, come in, stay for dinner." Can anyone imagine this situation?
I've been waiting for 2 years and 1 month to be granted disability status because of colon cancer. The base center, where I've complained multiple times, always tells me there are no doctors or others are ahead of me. I don't know what people could possibly be ahead of me after 2 years. Now that there's going to be a flood of vulnerable people coming in, whether they're sick or not, I won't have to wait 2 years. It'll be 4.
We're going to take to the streets because Spaniards are fighters and it's in our blood. And we're going to go out and fight when necessary. We'll go out and fight to take back our territory invaded by Muslims. Because Spain is Christian and it will never be Muslim.
Pepe is referring to that occupation of Ceuta, Melilla, and the Canary Islands that's underway, which the United States government has approved. What's more, Juan Jesus, I've been told there are a lot of tanks near Algeciras.
It seems strange to me. The day before yesterday, when I went to work at Técnica de Transportes Internacionales here in Algeciras, they had unloaded a tank inside the terminal. But yesterday, I was driving from Algeciras to Sabinilas, and I came across 5 trailers loaded with tanks. Obviously, the tanks weren't new, but they were tanks. Do you know anything if something is being moved somewhere or if we're getting ready for something?
We talked about it at the beginning of the show today. Guile keeps stressing this danger.
There's something I'd like someone in the United States to clarify for me. And it's how can they demonize states as narco states like Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, even Mexico, and then rely on another narco state like Morocco?
Very clear, Guile, because the drugs from Colombia that go through Venezuela end up in the United States. And the drugs from Morocco don't, those end up here in Spain, in Belgium, in France. Robert, I don't think we're exaggerating or lying. The difference between one narco state and another is very small. The only thing that distinguishes them is who they end up getting hooked. They're not Americans. What comes out of Morocco gets others hooked.
it's obvious. And sometimes it's much easier to see the narco state, the one you don't live in, because you see it from afar and from a neutral standpoint. And without that stereotype, without that desire, subconscious desire for your country not to be deep down a narco state, because let's say it openly, Albert, Carlos, nobody would want Spain to be a narco state. And if we could selectively focus our attention on all the signs that it isn't, we would prefer to look at those signs. But precisely because of that, we might lose sight of all those signs that are telling us we're headed that way, because there.
Well, we have the neighboring country right there. Look, there's been a plan for years, but the situation is favorable. When I talk, and I've done it with people from the army, and they talk with generals from Morocco, they boast and say it's already done. Donald Trump supports us. Yes, we're going to take Ceuta, Melilla, and the Canary Islands. There won't be any opposition, and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization won't participate, nor will Spain send anyone. They'll look for some strange agreement like Puerto Rico's associated territory status, and Morocco will keep it. Given this reality under Sanchez, Carlos Marcos, is it that easy? Is it that simple? That if they wait for Pedro Sanchez to leave or end up detained, they won't find another moment as favorable to do it. Ceuta and Melilla, are they going to Morocco, yes or no, Carlos?
I hope not, Albert. Because for that to happen, the United States would have to give its blessing. And I'm aware that Trump, with whom I currently have a small disagreement due to timing issues in Venezuela, right, isn't going to let Pedro Sanchez's insults and contempt toward him, Pedro being a guy who, God willing, will be temporary and disappear sooner rather than later, lead him to punish Spain, because a step in that direction would be irreversible. Irreversible. It's true that the Spanish government itself is rolling out the red carpet for Morocco. They just gave away the Sahara. They just gave it away. They just abandoned Spaniards with Spanish national ID who were living in that desert. They just gave it away to Morocco. Therefore, Pedro Sanchez is not someone who will defend the territorial integrity of Spain. No. If that thing with Trillo and that rock, that big rock, was an exaggeration, in any case, it also served to show that that government at least did want to show that it was protecting the integrity of Spain. But the man allowing Catalonia to split, welcoming Basque Country's secession, and giving away the Sahara, what the heck does Sanchez care? Even if an Islamist party emerges, maybe the Frankenstein government will boost it and it will keep going. You'll see. Just give it time.
It's possible. Well, I was thinking about the gentleman of lies, pity, and victimhood. There's not much more going on. We were expecting, at least I was, that someone would spill the beans, either Coldo or Abalos. And here, no one is talking. There are closed deals here. There are agreed pardons or candidos conde pumpidos, right? Their convictions will be wiped away. Always criticizing Aldama, who's the only one actually spilling the beans about Abalos.
The other day, he pinned even more millions on me. I'm thrilled, because the more millions they give me, the more it's required to identify and locate that money. These are real documents.
He says that when he said he needed sheets, they weren't bills, they were sheets of paper, and now someone actually believes him. The undersecretary admitted in a slip that Abalos had asked him to, well, make more offers, because just the one from Zaragoza for the masks seemed odd.
It would look good if there were a few more offers to include in the file. I said look for them, and I'm convinced that at least there were some. None passed through my hands.
To cover it up, he was quick to use that line. Look, Abalos is a liar who, after Sanchez, hasn't stopped lying, deceiving everyone. Thanks to talk show hosts like Risto Mejidi and others, who have whitewashed everything they could for him and now act like defenders of democracy. With Risto, he was able to lie to the extent you're about to hear.
I am absolutely against the sexual exploitation of women, but also of men. It disgusts me that someone has no other option but to submit to a sexual relationship they normally wouldn't choose.
Have you ever paid for sex?
Look, let's see. Me? Fortunately, I haven't had to do that, and I'll tell you more.
Well, the prostitution catalogs are recorded there, showing how they divided up the prostitutes or brought them by van from Valencia to the Parador of Teruel. Or when they tell him in Congress they've arrested Coldo, and just look at how he reacts.
I have no idea. I just found out. I was stunned by this.
Can anyone be a bigger liar? When they searched his home, he made the woman he was seeing hide a hard drive in her panties and walk out the door with it. But when the press catches him, as always, he lies.
My home was searched, as you all know. The truth is that it has been, anyway, delicate, let's say.
Yes, especially for her, because putting the hard drive there, well, as for the latest lie, one of many, we could be here all afternoon. There are no bigger liars than Sanchez and Abalos, the phrase of the year.
I'm a feminist because I'm a socialist.
After this, let's just call it a day. I think so. Tell me, Robert, what do you think? And Carlos, raise your hand. But I think that they are doomed. They know they are doomed. The evidence is overwhelming. What Balas from the Central Operative Unit did was a lesson in absolute law. Are they already waiting for the promise of a pardon or for a commutation of his sentence? There's nothing else. Don't you think so, Carlos?
Yes, and he has no other option. This guy, if he doesn't talk, because let's see, Abalos must know a lot about the Socialist Party's financing. He must know everything. Because the Secretary of Organization of a political party is the one who holds all the information, the financing, drawing up the candidate lists, everything. This guy must know a lot. Why doesn't he talk? He must have been promised a pardon. There's no other reason, because this guy is facing 15 to 20 years in prison. But regarding the lies he tells, there's a quote you didn't mention and I want to bring up, which leaves no doubt that this guy was paying to have sex with prostitutes. Which is the conversation we can put in quotes between Coldo and him. Hey, should I send you the blonde or Carlota? No, it's just that Carlota is amazing in bed. Well, I'll send you both. Well, that negotiation is with human flesh. With prostituted women, they are willing to provide for this man's entertainment. Both women to this man. It's all a big lie. But the really important information, the one that would really put the Socialist Party's irregular financing on the table, is being kept quiet by Abalos. Coldo is keeping it quiet. And it can be kept quiet. Kerdan can keep it quiet or not. But if all three of them keep it quiet, they're candidates for a pardon the day before Mr. Sanchez takes his mattress and packs his bags at Moncloa. That's the only benefit they can get. The rest is 15 or 20 years behind bars. And that's not appealing.
Well, Roberto, Orfeju could become president and he could be the one to pardon them. Sometimes these things happen.
I doubt it.
Jose Maria Aznar always remember pardoned Barrio Nuevo in the Gal case. I mean, in the end, they end up helping each other.
I could still understand it if it were the result of a deal where, look, you give me the presidency and I pardon Abalos for you. But the thing is, Pedro Sanchez has sold out Abalos. He lies so much that he even lied to Abalos, because Abalos at least has told one truth. Albert Carlos, Abalos has told one truth. And that is that he has never paid for sex. Because you paid Albert, we all paid with our own money. He never paid. It's the truth.
It's even worse. Don't remind me.
So I think there is, let's see, one little thing. Look, how interesting the newspaper archives are. That with practically a 2-year gap since that interview she gave at the time to Risto Mejide, we can read things she said between the lines that we can now make sense of now that we know a lot more. When she said, I'm against the commercialization with intimate relationships of women, and he said of men. That little addition of men, I think that had a bit of malice. It was like, it had a little message for the prime minister because of the sauna thing, because of the gay sauna thing. And he said, and men too. He didn't say it here, he didn't say it, that was planned. And then another thing, the pardon. Let's see, Abalos doesn't talk, not because he's looking for a pardon, but because if he talks, he's going to get the full sentence. That is, the first person interested in not talking is Abalos, because if he talks, he incriminates himself. Pretty much. Now, he has one more reason not to talk, because besides not, let's say, not incriminating himself, he also has the option, the possibility that if Pedro Sanchez stays in office, possibly, well, it opens the way for him to be pardoned. But knowing Pedro Sanchez and knowing how Pedro Sanchez operates, knowing how he broke off all relations, even with the World Tourism Organization, when he saw that a corruption case could implicate Begoña, all the times he said he put up firewalls against corruption cases, Pedro Sanchez will not pardon Abalos. If he has convinced him and Abalos believes it, that's fine. But Pedro Sanchez's word, as Carlos said before, has no value. I mean, are you guys serious? If Pedro Sanchez gave you his word, Albert Carlos, that he promises to do something for you in the future, would you believe him?
I actually think it's even possible that there's a signed document confirming certain conditions, not with Sanchez, but with someone from the party or from the Attorney General's office. But, well, we'll see.
Anyway, Roberto.
Tell me.
I want to highlight something Roberto mentioned. Aldama talked, Aldama confessed, and right now the prosecution is only asking for 7 years for him. If he reveals a bit more, because I think Aldama is keeping quiet about the Air Europa issue to protect the Hidalgo family, to whom he must owe a debt of gratitude. But if Aldama told the whole truth, he might not even go to jail. And Abalos should take that as a warning, because right now Abalos is facing no less than 15 years. I don't know if he'll get 25, but 15 years in prison is really tough. It's tremendous. And maybe you should confess, but you have to do it now, because you can make a deal with the prosecutor's office as long as there's no sentence. The day there's a sentence, you can sing your heart out, but you won't benefit at all.
The one who's been smart here is Santos Cerdan. Why? Because he was a congressman, he left, and now his case will be judged by the National Court. And look, just like with the Pujols, 10 years can go by, or 12. On the other hand, Abalos didn't want to leave. He stayed. The Supreme Court is hearing his case, and you can see how fast that's going. Maybe that's what he's looking for too, so that Sanchez stays in power and pardons him. It's all just games. We're discussing the government, Amador and Alfredo.
Socialism has always robbed us Spaniards. Socialism has always killed us Spaniards. And despite this, the times we're living through in Spain are indescribable.
Millie, in the first round, saw that they were rigging the vote against him, and he reported it, and in the second round, he won by a landslide. What's going on here that we can't do the same?
Yes, sir, that's where we've started the battle. And the march on May 23rd, Helen and Annabelle are with us.
I think the march is a wonderful idea, and I'll do everything I can to go. I'll share it. But I'm also afraid, I'm sure that Tyrant on that day, I don't know, he'll take the Falcon and go somewhere.
This morning when I heard you, since the call for the march to Moncloa was already confirmed, I also got moving, and I reached out to an association so that with a political approach, of course, a few of us could get together and organize the trip, because it would be from Leon united for this towards Moncloa.
They can do it and they will be welcome, but marches are also being organized in other cities, roads in other capitals. Not everyone can come to Madrid, and we understand that. In the Canary Islands, in more distant places, in Mallorca, they're trying to organize marches, and everyone decides what route to take and where they end. The goal is the same, and it's about dignity too. So everyone should do it whenever and however they can. allow us. We're going to the newsroom. Susana Gash, latest messages.
Here we are, Albert, in the newsroom of Castellon Confidential, receiving those messages and opinions, and congratulations, because this week is going to be all about that. A week of congratulations for these 4 years of podcasting with you and with all our insiders. That's what Carmen says. She says that for the future of our children and also our grandchildren, we have to take back our Spain from this miserable, evil government that's stealing and always handing us over to the enemy. Brugila says, congratulations also for these 4 years, for the fight for freedom and for this open platform that we need so much to stay well informed. Marisa says that this march makes me want to keep going again. She is referring to that march on the morning of the 23rd, called by civil society, where there will be a march from Plaza Colón to Moncloa. Marisa was telling us about it. She says it makes her want to keep going. The excitement comes back, the feeling of fighting for my country, my people, my children, my descendants. Thank you, Albert. It's what Spain needs to open its eyes and unleash our energy. Juan also tells us, he says, long live the roar of the Spanish people. Gile says, where can I download this poster? I'm going to mobilize the masses in Cordoba. We're going to post it in the comments on the YouTube channel, on the channel itself, and on this program right away. You'll be able to download it. And Antonia says that you already know what you have to do this Saturday. And she also invites us on the morning of the 23rd. We must stand by Albert Castillon and everyone else in front of La Moncloa, because freedom is not something to play with. That's all for now, Albert. It's very important that all our insiders can follow us on all our social media. And also on that digital newspaper, CastellonConfidential.com, where they will be very, very well informed. Thank you very much, Albert.
Thank you very much. And yesterday, we played an audio from a colleague at Spanish television who used inclusive language that we didn't understand. This one.
Of course, congratulations to all the female athletes and the male athletes from Spain.
Well, atletas and atletos, obviously we didn't understand anything. The image of Irene Montero came to mind. And we received a message from a confidential source who knows the journalist and has another version.
Saying it's not a coincidence and she didn't make a mistake seems like going too far. I've been listening to her for many years, and I also know her in person, and she simply made a mistake. She makes mistakes quite often. It's not that she's making mistakes all the time, but that was just a momentary mistake.
Well, I think you must be right. It wasn't inclusive language. It's just that she's really bad. Let's see if they find someone better at Spanish television. Well, dear Robert, Maria Jesus Montero's tongue deserves a separate chapter. But since she'll keep sticking it out, I think we need to do a psychological analysis, and you'll tell me what prescription we should give this woman. I'm worried.
Prescription? Well, I think we should give her more of whatever she's taking.
This man is extremely dangerous. A hug, dear friend. Thank you. I follow you on your YouTube channel. Take care. Roberto Crobu, YouTuber, psychologist, and my dear Carlos Marcos. Wrap it up.
Well, I'm not going to get into the topic because the debate we saw yesterday was a waste of time once again. One party is tried in the National Court, the other in the Supreme Court. And yes, I recognize the merits of Vox, which has made it a national priority. Well, it was kind of the driving force behind this debate. For me, it was a complete waste of time, a mockery of the public.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, thanks to a confidential source, on the 21st here in Madrid, I'll be going to the alley at Las Ventas, invited by an anonymous source who very kindly got in touch with me. I'll be there.
Man, but well, no.
Also, tell me where we agreed to meet on the 23rd.
Let me think about it. We'll look for a place near Plaza Colón, which is the starting point and far from Genova Street because it's dangerous. All right, we'll talk. Take care, my friend. A big hug. Thank you, Carlos Marcos. Friends, there are people who make documentaries to show the truth. Today, I present to you a genius who never stops making them, and they're brilliant. In a minute.
You're listening to Castellon Confidencial.
Attention confidenciales, we're launching a new channel. Have you ever felt something before you could explain it? A shiver, a discomfort, a certainty that you don't know where it comes from. Your body knows it. It always knows. Introducing Tu Cuerpo Sabe, a scientific channel where we explore those invisible signals that your mind doesn't understand yet, but your skin does. Sensations, intuition, energy. What you feel before you even realize it. Discover what your body has been trying to tell you for a long time. Search now for Tu Cuerpo Sabe on YouTube, because the body feels before the mind understands.
Gentlemen, each of you from your own position, your work, your family can do something to improve your country. It's a principle of individual freedom that we've always defended here. Don't wait for others to do it for you. I do what I can as a journalist looking for alternative media, and thanks to your help. But anyone in a bar, someone who runs a business, someone who owns a store, or someone who works in the audiovisual world can do something. I'm going to introduce you to a man who, since Sanchez has been in power, has made 6 documentaries, including a series of 8 episodes. He discovered the story of Vega Mestanza, remember? Our friend in Malaga. He made another one called La España Novatiada Novatilada, or Memocracia, or Checkmate to Judicial Corruption, or Yerma 2030, or the latest one he's presenting these days, Debunking the Narrative. Take a look at a preview.
For us, it was a normal day since there was no specific alarm anywhere.
We found out that my brother, my nephew, and my sister-in-law had been swept away in the car by a wave almost 4 meters high. They went to pick up their son from school, and no one warned them that there was any danger. In fact, it wasn't even raining in the most affected towns.
Everything points to the fact that there were actually up to 2 openings of the dams on the Turia River. We don't know which ones, and what is clear is that the information is being hidden.
When they arrived, I was there. We asked them to help rescue people who sadly were already dead. And they didn't want to, because the orders they had been given were to take out furniture and move furniture and to do nothing else but that and go around in circles.
That man is Miguel Rix. Welcome, Miguel. How are you?
Glad to be here, Albert. Very well. Thank God.
You're like a Renaissance man. You don't wait for the contract to fall into your lap. You take your family, your knowledge, and you're able to make almost a documentary every year since this dictator has been in power, right?
You're right. I usually focus on what's left to do rather than what I've accomplished. And yes, it's really one project a year. There are 3 of us in my family.
That's wonderful. Working with family is something I do too, and now you work twice as many hours, right? Compared to if you were working outside the home.
But it's a privilege, Albert. It's a privilege.
It is, it is. What is Desmontando el Relato? We've seen that you talk about the floods in Valencia, but I think also about the fires, about more things. What will we see there?
Well, we're going to see how this excuse that's been used lately is a blatant lie, to justify any tragedy that happens in our country. Whether it's the so-called Dana, because those were floods that were caused, or at the very least allowed, permitted, aggravated, I'll leave it at that, or whether it's the fires. People have short memories, and that's understandable. This fast-paced world makes us forget things quickly, and we've already forgotten that half of Spain burned this past summer. But the year before, the whole island of Tenerife burned, and the year before that, the entire Sierra de la Culebra burned, and so on. Year after year, they let Spain burn. What a coincidence. So that later green energy or mining projects can proliferate. And then all of this is always justified by climate change. What the spokespersons of our government don't talk about is the inaction, the failure to render aid, and the fact that they do not comply with the national emergency law. We'll discuss all this in this episode of Debunking the Narrative, and of course, tear it apart with scientific experts. Honestly, the climate scam that's causing Spaniards to lose their freedoms, just like that, in a massive way.
Well, we've had to hear that the mass legalization of immigrants is because of climate change, or that the Adamus accident was caused by climate change. It's the catch-all excuse where everything fits. I think they fool only a few, but they make off with billions. Who helps you financially to make these documentaries?
Well, look, Albert, thank God it's the people. People gradually discover my work and it starts to snowball and spread. And well, honestly, I have to be very grateful because every time we premiere a documentary, the theaters are full. It's in private screenings because, of course, nowadays, with this government, with these laws, and with this censorship, because it exists and you are the first to suffer from it, you can confirm that there isn't a single film distributor that dares to take this to regular screenings, to premiere it all over Spain. Look, they just released that trash by Sidosa, by that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, this guy is subsidized to the core. And this is in all the theaters without any audience. We do a screening and we fill it up, and we do another screening and we fill it up. And it's been like this since Yerma 2030, which premiered in almost 40 cities in Spain and 40 sold out screenings. So it's the people themselves who help us.
Desmontando el Relato has already been shown in Madrid. It will be shown on May 8th in Valencia, May 17th in Barcelona, May 24th in Malaga, and June 13th in Oviedo. Do you have a website or a place to find out which theater and at what time?
Yes, everything we do is always centralized on my website, which is miguelrix with an x.com. There you have the schedules, dates, and a link to tickets. And I insist, these are private screenings, so people shouldn't go to the box office to ask because it will be us, the family, and we're always there at the premieres. All three of us, they ask us.
Have you ever applied for a grant?
Oh, no. I refuse. Besides, I'm self-employed and I've never even collected unemployment, not once in my life. I've also never been unemployed, not once in my life. It's just that we have this culture of handouts, of subsidies. It's causing a lot of harm, Albert. You already know.
It's harmful. It's harmful. Hey, so when does this end? When will I see a documentary about
the victory?
It's over. It's gone. The judges took him out. How long will it take?
Oh, I don't really like guessing or making predictions, but hopefully, God willing, it'll be very soon, right? Because I don't know if this man keeps ruling our country. I don't know what kind of country he'll leave behind. Many of us are pushing back, you most of all. Each person, as you rightly said in the introduction, pushes back however they can with their knowledge, their talent, or their resources. But it's not enough. I mean, I don't know. The Spanish population is taking too long to get him out one way or another. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to encourage anyone.
Yes, here violence never.
No, never.
Never, but the law, yes. And we also need to stop being sheep. We have to start raising our heads.
Notice that the first thing Mr. Sanchez spent money on was spreading it around to the media. That's his strength, the narrative. That's why it's so important to dismantle the narrative, because without that money spent on spreading it among the media, as they say in Asturias, rotten, corrupt, well, without that narrative, he wouldn't be in power. And then look, the regularization of all those coming here now, which they say is because of climate change, is creating a new market for votes, because that's what this man knows how to do. He doesn't know how to do anything else. And destroying Spain, that he does know how to do.
I tell it, but you show it on screen. A lot of people take part in your documentaries, some good friends, and scientists explain it. So watching it is not the same as just listening to it. The work involved in making them available to watch is very important. Has any television channel broadcast any of these 6 I mentioned?
Yes, well, a channel that's on our side, let's put it that way. But for example, El Toro TV has broadcast it. They've broadcast Yerma, and they're going to broadcast this one. They also broadcast When We Forgot, Canary Islands, the controlled demolition of paradise, because what's happening in the Canary Islands is something else too. We made a documentary a couple of years ago. We didn't take this one to the cinema because Cesar Vidal broadcast it through his platform. And Cesar Vidal also supports us a lot because he helps spread the word about everything we do. And we're still at it.
It's wonderful to see you and the conviction you have. You're not a kid. You've been working your whole life. and for you to risk everything and push yourself to the limit to show what's happening in Spain, that's wonderful.
Well, and you too, Albert. I mean, that's what we have to do.
Yes, but you could be doing Saidosa and getting millions in grants.
You could have stayed at Antena 3 if you'd kept quiet, but you didn't. Principles and honor matter, something new generations don't grasp since no one explains it to them. My son does know it.
Especially to our children, yes. We have to be the ones to pass it on. Well, Miguel Rix, I don't know why it took us so long to meet, but from now on, my platforms are at your disposal to publish and broadcast whatever you need. So here we are, just like any other media outlet, with hundreds of thousands supporting your work. And a big hug.
I'm one of those hundreds of thousands. Thank you, Albert, and keep going. What you're doing is monumental.
Hugs, my friend.
Hugs.
And since we're talking about agriculture, that documentary also talks about Mercosur, about everything. Juan V. Paleter has launched an operation to analyze products that deceive us. Even if the label says Spanish origin, they're not from there. We need to work with him.
Raise your hand if you want Spanish products, because supermarkets are disgusting. They're disgusting. Everything comes from abroad. But it comes from abroad for a simple reason, because if when you go to the supermarket, you didn't pick up the things that come from abroad, the importer wouldn't bring it. It's that simple. The consumers are to blame. It's entirely the consumer's fault, not the importers, not the supermarkets. It's the consumers. If you see potatoes from Israel, you leave them there and let them choke on them. They'll have to choose the Spanish product. There's no other option. That's why I decided to make a list. A list of Spanish producers. I don't care if it's honey potatoes, tomatoes, it doesn't matter to me. I want a list of Spanish producers. And I'm making this video because in a few days I'm going to post a list of local products or from other parts of Spain. I want them to get in touch. I'm saying this clearly so that consumers don't send it to me privately. Farmers and ranchers. Look, I'm going to say something. Farmers and ranchers, it has to be their own product, not something they buy from someone else and then resell it. That's not okay, right?
Let's see if together we can push for it, because Juan V is right. When we go shopping, we should know what we're buying. And the labeling bears some responsibility, but so does the supermarket. If it's someone from the neighborhood, you just ask them and that's it. Where are they from? If you want them cheaper, they come from farther away and you decide. But often that's not true and they deceive us. We're going to work with Juan V on this labeling operation at full speed. By the way, thank you, Rosa, and many others for remembering the 4 years of the show that we celebrated yesterday.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you on your 4th anniversary. I want to thank you for keeping us informed, for being so brave, and above all, for giving a voice to those of us who don't agree with what's happening.
Thank you, dear Rosa, and to everyone who has written to encourage and support us. This is your space. This is your program. Some people sing about happiness. Minerva sings about everything.
Scandal, it's a scandal. Scandal, it's a scandal. TikTok. TikTok. TikTok.
Let's see if it's true that this TikTok ends, dear. Well, there's a Tintin meme, as if it were the cover of one of Tintin's wonderful books. It says the national priority, and you see Tintin and Snowy looking at a long line of immigrants. Thank you, Sophia. I don't have that book yet. Sanchez in a migrant boat sent by Maria and many others looking for votes. Votes?
Vote for me! Vote for me! All of you, vote for me! Please vote for me!
He already prints the ballot on the boat so he doesn't have to wait for them to arrive and make up their minds. And artificial intelligence explains very well what the future of Begoña Gomez will be like, wearing an orange jumpsuit.
I'm Begoña, wife of Spain's traitor. Let me go. I only stole 5 million euros. My husband took 18 million, Coldo 13, and Cherdan 9. I'll reveal everything if I must.
We'll probably see this someday. There will come a day when they'll be husband and wife separated and they'll accuse each other. Bet on it, you'll see. Money causes that. Well, this is a movie that Jose Maria sent me. Here it is, the latest release. You can see Pedro Sanchez in Not Without My Ballot Box. Not Without My Ballot Box, it's like his daughter, right? And that's how the people he wants vote. And Maria Jesus Montero is still around. It's so easy to make a meme with her or a Muppet show, a program like this. Look.
I vouch for the president of the State Industrial Holding Company. He is honest and decent, without blemish. Of course, I would vouch for Abalos. He is an impeccable politician. All they say about him is slander. My number 2 is a decent man who hasn't done any of the things he's accused of. I vouch for him, and I'm almost sure I won't get burned at all. Santos Cerdan corrupt? Come on, he's an upright socialist. I put my unburned foot in the fire for him, and
he doesn't have any left. He has nothing left to burn. Everything is gone, just like her. Well, the day they do a psychiatric evaluation on members of the government, not only Sanchez would come out looking bad, huh? This woman has a problem that needs treatment. We're sure of it. Well, the Meconios are giving us the typical Bad Bunny song with the neighborhood stud Sanchez.
Corruption, today one comes out, tomorrow another. But I don't give a damn about that because I'm going to keep going here. Hey, I don't plan to resign. Come and watch your president.
All right, go check it out on his social media. Corruption scandals, one day one, the next day another. I don't plan to resign. Well, thank you for your donations, Jose Ignacio de Bourgon. Thank you very much. As always, I'm grateful. María G80, Concepción de Gil, Jesús, María de la Paz, Francisco MR, Susana GC, Jaime de Díaz, who always tells me those motivating phrases, says, Albert, we're still in the trenches. There are still only a few of us, but we'll triumph in the end. Well, I'm sure we will. Margarita de Bataller, aquí, she always says, for Spain, you are brave. Thank you, Margarita. Maria Pilar Soto Jimenez and Maria Cristina Artajo, they have made their donation. Friends, I'll be waiting for you in the trenches tomorrow. Thank you.
Somos confidenciales, tú eres confidencial, yo soy confidencial, todos confidenciales, todos confidenciales. Pero solo para mentes abiertas y para gente despierta. Desde la trinchera, las balas silban y no hay manera de salir allá afuera. Aquí la libertad tiene las alas de cera. Albert Castillo, Susana Gash, Tucci Castillo y demás, muchas gracias. Con esto y un bizcocho, hasta mañana a las 8.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.